Hi, welcome to Blacticulate, a podcast series featuring UK young black professionals, where we find out how they do what they do, so you can too. Or not. After all, it is your life. Hey guys, once again, thanks very much for joining us. Now, today's episode is a little bit different than the usual, where we normally interview singular guests. But on this occasion, we interviewed two people together. They are the founders of Shear Shine, which is a grooming service, grooming products for the black gent. It was a great conversation. I mean, they're both brilliant and very, very gracious people. So, guys, this episode is for you if you're also looking to start your own company, your own business, particularly as well in the grooming industry, because we talked about some tips, particularly for the black gent, on how best to maintain their frizz or grow a luscious beard like one of the founders, Aaron. Obviously not Lina. Obviously not Lina. So yeah, we talked about challenges, we talked about just quite a lot of things. And guys, once again, we'll be very grateful if you can just, share, like, review, rate, comment, anything you could do to help. So without further ado, I bring to you Lina and Aaron from Shear Shine. So guys, we've got something a little bit different, a little bit special, if we could say that, right? Good times. So the voices you're hearing is Lina and Aaron, and they are the fearsome duo of Shear Shine, which is, in fact, you know what? So I normally just throw it to my guests for them to tell me however they want to start, like what they're about, who they are. But since you're both two very different identities, can you go separately? So we'll start with Lina.
Yes.
Hit me. Identify
But what do you
yourself.
mean, like ethnicity and stuff and origin? Or...
Okay, let's go with that. Sure.
Is that what you meant, though?
I never want to ever put the parameters on that, because I always find it really interesting how someone identifies themselves. Okay. Some people just throw their business card and they go, yeah, I am this is what I do. Okay. Some people's like, actually, no, then it becomes more philosophical. And I'm like, okay, let's get into that.
So up until recently, I wouldn't have known how to phrase it. So I read an article that was about me. I know that sounds a bit...
Okay.
But the way they described me was like, that's how I'm going to describe myself going forward. Okay, awesome. And that is, what did they say? British-born, Dutch-raised Tanzanian.
See? That melting pot. Okay. And Aaron, hit us, sir. You don't want to follow that, do you?
You know what I mean? Like, I was going to say a black man. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
I describe myself as black British, Jamaican heritage. Of course, I understand we're all from Africa. We're all African. We're all of African descent.
Right.
But whenever someone says, where are you from? What are you? I say black British. Parents are Jamaican.
Yeah.
I usually leave it there unless we really want to get into that.
Get into the nitty gritty.
Yeah, unless we really want to get into it. But I'll usually
Well, I do though. I do. I really want to get into the nitty gritties. So let's actually explain why you're here, really, because you are the co-founders of Shear Shine, like I mentioned, which is a male grooming. And is it female as well?
No, just male.
Just male for now.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, touch wood. When it grows, it grows. You can't knock it. You can't knock those momentums. And so the reason you're here is because you are the founders or co-founders of Shear Shine. Yep. And I really interested in just the grooming and the black beauty industry, and specifically how you're trying to cut through that and create a stamp for yourselves. So let's not get into that yet, because we will definitely come into that. But I want to get into the background of each of you and just wonder how you found yourself here. So let's start with you, Lina. Jeez, there was a lot. There was a melting pot of, what was it? Dutch, then also Tanzanian and British. So help us unearth this. Like, how did you find yourself? The marketing director. I don't think you mentioned your titles. In fact, should we do that, Lina? Marketing and all its guises. That is in itself really quite a big chunk.
It's broad, yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Okay, Aaron, go for it.
I would say I mainly head up operations and sales primarily, but because we're still a startup, we're still a relatively small company. Although we might have an official title, we do everything.
Yeah, our jobs overlap.
Our jobs overlap. We both have to wear multiple hats.
Yeah.
But I guess when it comes down to if it's not working, the buck falls on you. Your head is on a chopping block for operations and sales.
We try to kind of have our own areas where we focus on and
where you're accountable.
Yeah.
So let's get into background. Upbringing, tell me, what was it like? Do you have like brothers, sisters? What's your household like?
So I have sisters.
Okay.
No brothers.
Right.
And even when I've had stepsisters, it's always been sisters.
Right.
No brothers.
That female energy. It's funny that all of a sudden you're in a male environment for work.
So it's my family's very female dominated.
Where were you like living? What school? What area?
I've moved around a lot.
Okay.
A lot. The bulk of it being in the Netherlands, in a place called Utrecht. You'd say it in Utrecht, and a place called Leiden. Those are my two main places that I've lived in Holland. Most recently Amsterdam, and then here in the UK I've lived in Bedford, Luton, and London.
See, that's funny actually. My mum also lived in Luton, Bedford, went to Gloucester, then she then decided to go back to Bedford. So I definitely empathise with you, like moving around a lot. What was it like being a black person in the Netherlands?
I wasn't consciously aware of it.
Right. How old were you at that time?
I moved here, the first time I moved here was when it was 2001, so I was 12. That was the first time I moved to London, or to the UK.
How comes? Do you mind me asking? How comes you guys moved?
My mom went through a split with my stepdad at the time, and I guess she wanted to be in London with her sisters, so she came. With two of her sisters, so she came here.
Right. Where were you living in London? Seems like almost like a psychologist. Sorry, no. I'm really about this because you're just fascinating. I really find...
A red sofa.
Yeah, I know, right?
I've lived everywhere in London.
Okay, seen like council houses and whatnot, or...
I think they're all councils. I've never really... I don't think I've actually lived on... Do you know what? It may have been a council estate and I just never noticed.
Right, gotcha.
Perhaps.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, this is how we're going to swiftly transition to you, sir.
Yeah.
Talk to us. Where it was growing up, like where'd you live?
So I grew up in South London.
Where south?
Primarily Luton Borough.
Okay.
So I went to school in Bromley, which is quite a white area. So quite a primarily white school. Yeah. But then most of my family was down in Peckham. So I'd spend most of my... Outside of school, I'd spend most of my time in Peckham. So I kind of grew up with two different walks of life, if that makes sense. Yeah, you're straddling the postcodes, as they say, right? Yeah. Peckham is not the way it was way back when postmen weren't even like stopped to deliver letters. Honestly, now people are going out buying milk in their pajamas. Yeah, no, this is when it was Pecknam. Pecknam. It was Pecknam, like. Times were rough. Yeah, it was real. Did you ever get into trouble? Occasionally. With the police, or not with the police, more like just problems. Like my brother lived in Peckham, like in the heart of Peckham. So if he was in a situation, I was in a situation, kind of thing. Right, got it. But because I spent most of my time in a very white-dominated school, I had to deal with a lot of the issues that come with that. So I had to face a lot of issues with racism and all that kind of nonsense. So was that sorry to interject, Aaron, because I always find these stories, I mean, it's universal almost, isn't it? Like, regardless of where we are, we almost are acutely aware of our colour, we are made to be aware of our colour by the other. Yeah. But was there any specific, do you remember the first time that you were made to feel aware? I can't remember the first time per se. No, I can remember the first time. I remember the first, and he was actually a friend of mine. Oh, what? But he was a friend. He was one of those people that didn't take anything seriously, including colour. Okay. So this is actually in primary school, but at the time there was a TV advert for if you like a lot of chocolate on your biscuit. Joy. Oh, yeah, do you remember that? Yeah, I remember. So he would always, whenever he'd have his lunch, he would always come up to me and rub it on my hand and be like, if you like, do you know what I mean? Right. And little things like that. I knew that he just wasn't a serious guy. I didn't really take it as racism, but that's kind of just an example of something that made me aware of my colour. I always remember growing up that feeling that if England was playing, you stay inside. And if England lose a match, you stay your ass inside.
Really?
Do you know what I mean? That's what it was like for me growing up. You don't walk out on the road if the England have lost a football match, because there'll be skinheads walking around and they will just do what they need to do. So I dealt with a lot of that growing up. So when I would go back to Peckham and I'll be with my brother and it's like black on black and it's over postcodes, I'm just like, this is nonsense to me. Do you know what I mean? This makes absolutely no sense. Like, obviously I'm defending my brother if case needs be, but that whole lifestyle didn't make sense to me because of what I was facing daily. Like, it just didn't make sense. So from then I kind of did my best to kind of swerve that whole life.
Right. That's really interesting. And Lina, was there an occasion where you, do you remember the first time you were acutely aware of your race?
I think it was when I came to school here in London.
Right.
I was year 9. I just remember one time in form class, my best friend, who's still my best friend till this day actually, she said something along the lines of all the black girls stick together or something like that. And that moment was when I was like, oh yeah. Oh. Do you know what I mean? Like, and there is a divisiveness a little bit, or clicky behavior a little bit, and that's the day after that I started to be very aware. Prior to that, obviously, I'm not colorblind, so I know that my skin is darker then, but it was never a conscious thing that came with other. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I hear you. Do you use your skin tone or race now in this environment and currently what you do as an advantage, or do you see there's challenges with what it is you're trying to do because?
I try to be quite pragmatic,
right,
in my outlook on life, and the reality is that it does have an effect to some degree. It does create people will have certain perceptions of you or certain stereotypes in their subconscious of what they expect you to be like just based on your skin colour and what they've seen of black people in the media. If someone's never interacted with a black person or very few black people, they're judging it by what they've seen on TV what they expect you to be. I remember, I've got so many examples. I remember going away to a retreat. I grew up in church. My mum was a very strong Christian.
Okay.
I remember going away on a church retreat one time to some beach down on the coast,
right?
And there's all white people, and they'd never seen black people before, and they was all like, "Oh my God, like, can you dance? Like, do us a dance. Oh, rap, like, give us a rap. And it's like, I'm not. What do you mean, give us a rap? Oh, you look like Ja Rule. Oh, you look like Eddie Murphy. You look like Cisco.
Yeah. That's happened to me, when I went to Ireland as well, Northern Ireland,
I think I look like every black celebrity that's ever lived.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I've had that. So that's just the reality. At the same time, the reality is we have these hurdles, but they're not set in stone. They're not concrete. You don't have to be a product of your environment. You don't have to be what people think you're going to be. You still have the freedom to choose what you want to be in life. Like, you still have the access to get where you need to go in life. There's actually, like, one employer might not hire you because of X, Y, Z. The other one might look past that. Do you know what I mean? The other one might have also come from a similar background and not give a damn about colour. Someone might be Jewish and they also understand similar struggles that black people have been through and not give a damn. So these things, they are reality, but they're not something that's set in stone your position in life forever.
I think, do you echo that sentiment?
Yes.
Yeah, I think honestly, to be aware of your race, 100%. We're not colourblind, but for that to be an anchor to prevent you from doing something, then actually, guess what? It's almost a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense, that you aren't going to achieve because you think you're this. Therefore, I won't even bother. So no, that I totally agree with you.
And that's one of the many reasons behind Shear Shine as well. Is because I want to kind of empower or kind of show another side of the coin for young black men that are coming up, because the same media that white people might be getting brainwashed to only see black people as one-dimensional. It's the same media that we're also consuming.
Yeah.
So we're also becoming a product of this same media, and we also, like the name of your show is Blacticulate. A lot of black people think that by being articulate, you're being white. And why is that? Because we've been shown that black people speak like this, when that's not the case. So by what we're doing with Shear Shine is showing that we can be articulate, we can be well-dressed, we can be well-groomed, that we are not one-dimensional people. We can do all sorts, you know what I mean? We come in all different shapes and sizes, just like any other race.
Yeah.
So it's just opening, it's just creating an option.
I guess this is the things that you tackle, like the communication aspect of how you showcase that Shear and Shine is everything and then some.
Yeah.
So how do you do it? Like,
well, one of the things that we do, for example, is put a huge emphasis on the partnerships as well that we form. For example, I'm trying to find a way to answer this question.
Who have you partnered up with?
So one of the people that we've partnered up with is a US-based influencer called Black Men with Beards.
Black Men with Beards. Nice. I think I know the Instagram account.
Yes, their focus is primarily behind, just like us, empowering black men, showing them in different lights, etc., etc. So through those partnerships, we sort of strengthen our standpoint that that's exactly what we stand behind, and we work with people who stand behind the exact same ethos. And then it's also through our blog and the way that we communicate on Twitter. It's very professional. We don't dumb down our conversation because we're not speaking to a dumb audience, and I don't understand why that assumption should be there. We're speaking to a highly intelligent audience that also understands how to read and consume information, just like any other person. So that's exactly how we communicate with them, on our blog, on Twitter, on our emails, etc.
No, I agree with you. Now, question is, do you have a brick and mortar store?
We don't have the store anymore. We started, because I started Shear Shine as a barbershop.
Right. Oh, so you were a barber?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
like, it was your store or you had a seat?
No, it was my store.
Aaron's about that. He's about that life, you know. Damn, I'm in front of royalty right now, really. And his beard game is on point. I'm not going to lie, man. I've been itching my beard throughout this conversation, guys, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. Is it? You heard it first. Guys, you heard it first. I'm counting on that.
Send me your address.
Bless. But tell me about the start, the fruition.
Yeah, so we started as a barbershop in Croydon, and that was kind of the origins. But now we've kind of moved on to just solely focusing on the brand and really just getting the brand out there, and the range of products is kind of what we're focusing on now.
And you, obviously, when you go on your website, you're able to buy these products. So it's e-commerce.
Yeah.
So a lot of it, is it because you're still in your infancy? How long have you guys been going on for?
About a year.
About a year. So your first focus is brand awareness, try and reach as many people as possible.
You can buy our products in stores though.
Oh, okay. Where?
So there's Zandi in Peckham and Lewisham.
Awesome.
Yes, Lewisham Shopping Centre in Peckham Rye. Then there is the Grey Store in Lewisham. Then there is another store called More something. We just literally closed that deal with them, and they're opening up. I think it's North London, so that's going to be up on our website. There's a page on our website that says stockist.
Guys,
also
once again, I'll link that up to the show notes.
We're in a few places.
Yeah. So talk to me about that. How, considering again you're only a year old, how do you get yourself in these like brick and mortar stores, these stockist places? What are those conversations like?
It's a lot of just calling around, speaking to people, emailing people, and repeat, chasing it up. And a lot of people come to us as well because they've heard about Shear and Shine, and they want to stock us. They want to provide something for the men that are coming into their shops. So a lot of people come to us as well.
No, you've got the mic, you've got the space. Yeah. Tell us what's unique about Shear and Shine and why people wanting to stock it.
Yeah, what's unique about it is like we're the first black-owned company that's really focusing on black men in the UK. So within the hair care market, there's hundreds and hundreds of options for women to condition, to relax, to straighten, to go natural. There's women have abundance of choice.
Right.
The men, whenever you go to the men's section, it's literally just Dax.
Dax, right? Got
it's literally just that's literally all that you really see for men. There's not really anything that's catered for men. Or you might find that some brands might have a little offshoot thing that they kind of do for men. But there's no companies out there that are saying, listen, we want to tackle the issues that black men face. So for a lot of black men, like myself, for example, before we started this, my only option was to, you know, if I'm in Boots or Tesco's or whatever, would be to pick up a European product. Okay, right. So I'd be looking at the product and I'm thinking, is this even going to work on my hair type? Because it's not the same hair type that I'm seeing on this box, or my skin type. You know what I mean? So that actually sort of brings me into the questions, like, what is the differentiation? I mean, obviously the obvious of like, we've got tighter curls and sometimes we're more prone to keloids and whatnot because follicles bury back into the skin. Yeah. Trust me, it's a hard life, guys. It's a hard life. But like, even from a male to female perspective, is there such a stark difference? It's small. It's not like massive differences, but there are differences. Like you just kind of said what the differences are really. Right. But men's hair is often more dense. It often requires more maintenance, and also our beards are on our face, so it requires a different kind of procedure and care when you're taking care of male. Can I get some secret tips? Give to my audience. Like, when you say these cares, what should they be doing or looking at? And obviously, buy Shear Shine without a shadow of a doubt. We'll start with that, but.
What do you mean, like in terms of
like the rituals? Like, what would be a good ritual? Say, for instance, for me to get a great beard like Aaron, because I know for sure my hair just breaks. It ain't even one of them ones. I can't grow my hair. I literally can't grow my hair. My skin's sensitive. Look at me. It's not all about me. I know it's about you guys listening, but geez, I mean, I've got an option here to actually talk to the professionals. So it's largely about grooming it, like brushing it, making sure that you get into a routine of brushing the hair, training the hair, how to grow, which direction you want it to grow. Okay. Do you brush it down? Do you comb it out? Making sure that the beard is moisturized as well. Like, you have to hydrate your beard like you would hydrate your body. So you need to be getting moisture into the beard, otherwise it becomes brittle, and that's what kind of prevents it from growing as well. So you really have to like be aware of the condition that your beard's in. So if you see that it's looking a bit dry today, you need to condition it, because the conditioning helps. Conditioning does exactly what conditioner says. It conditions the condition of your hair. Right.
It locks in moisture.
It locks in moisture. It's like it makes your hair fitter. Right. It makes it healthier. So it makes the follicles, not the follicles, the strands of the hair, the outer layers, more coated, more glossy. I'm with you. And combing it regularly isn't bad for it. It's just teaching it, brushing it and whatnot. It's having like a beard brush. Yeah, a nice brush and beard oil that gets that kind of, when your beard gets to a certain length, your skin creates natural oils in the skin, but when your beard is quite long, those oils are not reaching the full strand of your hair. Okay. So the beard oil just helps to supplement that and keep the whole beard moisturized. Guys, you heard it here first. Sure, give you some trade secrets out here. Lina, I want to actually focus on you a little bit, because obviously you are a lady, and a very beautiful one at that. I hope you don't mind me saying.
Thank you.
Right. How is it for you? Do you enjoy what it is you're doing, and how do you sort of communicate about the male space, being a lady? Does anyone ever think like, well, you can't speak on our behalf because you're a woman? Have you ever had that? Does that make sense, my question?
Yes, but so nobody's outright said it, but they say it through their body language and their responses to me. So, for example, when we're at an event and we're communicating the product, you can see that people gravitate through their body language, and even their listening gravitates towards Aaron as if to say, yeah, okay, great, but what do you have to say about the whole situation? Which is fine. Just the same way if I was in a situation where I'm buying products for women and there's a stand and there's a man and a woman, my instinct would be to direct myself towards the woman and ask her for advice and tips. So I don't necessarily take offense to that. Okay. But other than that, I can't say that I experienced that necessarily. No, you have, definitely have. Yeah, you've got a story. Okay, because when we were still running the shop in those earlier days, whenever someone would call up to the shop and they would speak to Lina, they would, not everyone, but a lot of people would just completely dismiss Lina and say, well, I need to speak to the boss, I need to speak to Aaron, kind of thing. Not knowing that Lina's founder in the company as well, so she has all of the same decision-making powers that I do. Yeah. However, what you've done now is you've pissed off Lina. Which is not a good look. I completely forgot about that. I've completely forgot about those times. That used to annoy me. Yeah. But I think maybe because I didn't interpret it as I'm a woman in a male space as much as I interpreted it as I'm the first person to answer the phone. I have a female voice, so the assumption is that I'm the receptionist or the PA. And my thought process is, even if I am the PA or the assistant, the company you're calling values those people just as much as they value the people at the top. So even if I was a PA and I didn't have a say-so, if my PA came to me and said this person was rude on the phone, and that's the person I'm not going to deal with anymore. So I don't know if it was necessarily because I was a female in a male space, or maybe I'm talking it down, but it did happen a lot.
No, fair enough.
Yeah, it did happen a lot.
So can I ask you then about your route in? Obviously, I know you co-founded it, but but why are you specifically for marketing and communications and being the marketing director? May I ask?
Do you want to answer that?
Oh, interesting.
Go
Okay.
for it.
Huh? You know, before the Shear Shine stuff, I was a musician, so I had to kind of be very active in marketing myself and getting myself out there.
Right.
However, Lina studied marketing, so she understands marketing on a deeper level than what I do.
Okay.
And so it just makes sense. You put your strongest players in the strongest position,
100%.
and she's the strongest player when it comes to marketing, and she's a very fast worker. I'm a very slow worker, so she can get a lot done in a short space of time in terms of marketing, get a lot of content and do that and run with it. So it makes sense for her to head that up.
Right. Okay. And then can we speak about your process? If that's okay, let's take a case and example where you've just locked a deal for, was it Mortar? No, where's the new store that you're going to be stocked at?
More something.
Is it More Hair and Beauty or More Beauty? And then there's another one called Untamed Beauty in names.
Yeah.
Let's try to find
Don't worry about that. We'll edit that.
We'll call it More Beauty.
Yeah, More Beauty. How, from a marketing perspective, and then obviously from operational, how did you manage that entire process from, dare I ask, from start to finish? Did they call you or did you approach them?
So this was a deal that Aaron worked on.
Okay. How long does deals work go on for, the turnaround?
It can vary. I mean, sometimes like you send them information on what we do, who we are, what we're about, and are you interested in stocking any products for men? If so, how much? This is how we work. We have a minimum order of XYZ, or you could take out a package. We put together little packages.
Okay.
I don't want to give away too much of our inner workings, but we have different ways of working with different retailers depending on their size.
Of course.
And once they kind of come to something that works for them, and they place an order with us, I process the order, get the products out to them. Everything's nice, good to go. Then I pass them to Lina, and Lina handles the kind of social media and announcing it and building awareness to the shop so that people can know that we are now stocked in this shop and they can go to the shop and buy. And then, people go there, they buy, shop sells out, come back to us, rinse and repeat.
Yeah, rinse and repeat. I like it. And are there anything specific that you've noticed are sort of the... what's the word I'm looking for? Like the icing on the cake that people really want to hear from, like that you guys do. Is it any sort of press that you have? Does press really work to your advantage? I say to your advantage. I can imagine
it worked
it
in
does.
the beginning.
But
no, there's no but.
oh, okay, the way you said that.
No. The thing with press is that you need to approach it just as strategically, because their interest is to tell a story that would captivate their audience. So the initial press release that we sent out went viral, which is fantastic.
Amazing.
And now we're looking into ways that we can create interesting content for journalists to trigger them to want to tell the story in a different way, and we're still including Shear Shine at the center of the story, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's like advertorials.
Yes and no. I mean, for us, it's our aim is to be industry leaders, thought leaders in our space, which is male grooming. So it goes beyond just advertorials, and it goes into informing the audience of interesting things that are happening in the male grooming industry, or things that we have discovered in the male grooming space, particularly when it pertains to black men and stuff like that. So it goes beyond just advertorials of like constantly telling people that we exist and what we do. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm with you. Can't be an easy task, right? So I hear that you're educated, obviously, specifically with communication, hence that's what you do. But insofar as operationals and sales, do you have to go to uni to know this?
I didn't learn it at uni, no. I kind of self-taught a lot of the stuff that I know. I studied business studies at A-level.
Okay.
And he lives on YouTube.
And you live on YouTube, right? Because that's something that you both mentioned. Okay, so guys, you always know, prior, I do, even though it might not sound like it, I do kind of mini prep. And I ask all my guests the questions that I would potentially be talking about. And I ask them specifically, like, whether or not you need an education. So you guys are always familiar. I do ask whether you need an education into the root of my guest. And they're like, you know what? Internet, YouTube, you're blessed. And why is that?
I think that a lot of people take it for granted, the age that we're living in right now.
Right.
And I think I was in school like when the internet really started blowing, do you know what I mean? So I can still vaguely remember a time before the internet where you had to find information going through encyclopedias or library for hours and hours and hours. Whereas now you can literally whip your phone out, get Google up, blah, blah, blah. How do I blah, blah, blah? Do you know what I mean? And find information really fast. I mean, if you really want to get into it, you still have to go to the library to get some of the information that's really, really deep. But you can learn just...
I think also I think your question needs to be broken down, if that makes sense.
Please.
Do I need an education in order to understand and do marketing? No. But do I need an education in order to work in a company under the marketing department? Yes, because employers haven't necessarily caught up to new ways of learning. They still require you to have a certificate to prove that you are well versed in the area that you're going to work in. Yeah. In my opinion, personal opinion, this has always been my opinion, unless you're trying to be a neuroscientist or a neurosurgeon, or a rocket scientist, I don't necessarily believe that going to university is important, essential. But to get employed, it is.
Right.
Because a lot of the job descriptions, one of the first criteria is a university degree. Now, if you don't have a university degree, they will not even look at your CV. And it's for that reason and that reason alone that it's essential to have a marketing degree, for example, if you want to go into marketing.
Yeah. Right, because that's how you prove that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, anyone can say, I spent a couple hours on YouTube, you know what I mean? So it is important. I mean, for me, I think that university is good to master your craft, and I think it's always good to aim to master your craft. I studied music at university, and by studying music at university, I understand music in a way that the average person doesn't. I understand music in a way that I didn't even think about music until I studied it really in depth at university, and you understand, wow, music can be used for healing bones, you know what I mean? Like, it's crazy when you really get into it. So I do always recommend learning the craft. However, that being said, all of the things that I learned at university, I could have learned myself outside of it if I had dedicated myself to learning it. So it's about mastering your craft in whatever way works for you. This is if you're going into entrepreneurialism and business. If you want to run your own business, it's just about mastery of your craft yourself. However you reach that stage of mastery is dependent on you. Like, I consume video. I can watch endless videos and learn. Lina's more of a blog article person. She reads loads and loads of blogs. That's how she learns. But it's just about learning. Yeah. Some people need to go to uni because they need a director to lead the class and say, study this by this time, do this by this time. Yeah. So it's down to the individual.
I think also, do you know what? I just realised as well, whilst I say that employers haven't caught up to different ways of learning, I realised I used to work in recruitment, and the company I worked for, one of the requirements for anybody that comes in is a university degree. And I remember I asked my director, why do people need to have a university degree when sales is something that you learn on the job? You can't learn that in class. And he said, it's because beyond the certificate you get from university, and he's not the only person to have said that. I've also spoken to clients and I've said to them, why are you requiring a university degree? It's because of the type of learning that you do in university, the type of critical thinking it asks of you, the type of analysis it asks of you, of your material, the type of respect for deadlines it requires of you, and the discipline it takes. Because in school, you get deadlines and you're sort of fed little pieces along the way. In university, you get a deadline and you have to manage your time. So it's those skills that they know that if you're in university, you will have possessed, especially if you've managed to go to university and finish it. Yeah. And it's those skills that they're looking for rather than the end certificate. So that's another thing to note. For them, university is not necessarily just about the certificate you get, because more times than not, it doesn't matter what university degree you have.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? It is more about the process of learning, the analytical skills, the ability to dissect information. Those are the skills that come with going to university. Right. So I think we shouldn't necessarily overlook that either.
No. But imagine I'm a listener and I'm like, yes, Lina Aaron, they're phenomenal, they're fantastic, they're about that life, they're killing it, kudos, congrats. How can I almost emulate what it is they do if I wanted to start and be in that space? Now, I'm not saying give them your secret sauce or anything, but what would you say were the pillars, the essential things to sort of know and have in place? In a sense, almost speaking to yourself a year earlier, what you wish you...
I think I always bring it back down to networking, and that goes beyond whether you're trying to be in business or trying to be in this space, trying to be in employment, or trying to be in anything. I think your network is essential, not just because of the access they provide, but it can also be because of the benchmark they provide, the motivation they can, instill in you without you even realizing. The whole concept of birds of a feather and stuff. So I think networking is key.
Okay, so to start a business such as Shear Shine, or maybe any business, is for you, it's crucial that you have a good network that will help elevate or help you on your way.
I think network helps growing your business. Right. I think having a good, strong network is key to growing your business. I think to start in your business is it's about mindset. The mindset is the first thing. You've got to have a very solution-focused mindset, in that you understand that you're going to have loads of problems, you're going to hit loads of walls, you're going to hit loads of barriers, you're going to have loads of times where you think, F this, I'm going to give up or whatever, or just that you understand that it's not an easy process. Right. So the mindset needs to be correct before you even start anything. And then it's just about self-discipline and really dedicating yourself to what you're trying to do. So if you don't, you've got to understand that you're not in school no more. And that if there's something that you don't know, you have to find that answer, because no one's going to save you. So when I opened my shop, I didn't know how to cut hair. I had to learn. Yeah, I had to learn how to cut hair.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
What?
So I didn't know how to cut.
Who was your first customer? Put the chance on you. Do you know what I mean? No, do you don't understand how sacred a good barber is, man. I'll travel. I know you know. I know you know.
I hired barbers. I hired barbers.
Okay. Because I was just picturing like seeing Aaron, that one chair, innit?
Just wobbling with the clippers.
Yeah. And that one guy comes through and he goes, yeah, I've done this before. Still, why's your hand shaking there, fam? Don't worry about me.
No. So I hired barbers, right. But I was at a stage where I needed to be...
I love the way he went, did you know this? Yeah. And you didn't stop me.
Yeah.
You said nothing. You let me straight go.
I like.
But yeah, you've got to think big. Do you know what I mean? And you've got to think solution focused. And you have to. So I went into. I didn't know how to cut hair, but I knew that I wanted to have a barber shop that raised the bar of barbering and could. I wasn't happy with the current level of barbering. I wanted to raise the levels. So I hired barbers, but then I was finding that it was difficult to find the people that shared my vision for what I was doing. Right. So it was a case of the only way I'm going to really do this is if I learn myself. Right. So I had to learn barbering. Like I had to become the student to my own employees, if that makes sense.
I'm with you.
And then I had to go away. I went and my cousin's barber, I went to his shop and sat down with him for a few months and really studied the craft and learnt it. I went on YouTube, I watched tutorials day and night.
You still do?
I still do. Just it's like barber porn to me now. Nice. I just literally just watch haircuts just for fun. And then
is there any first throw a couple of names out? Who should we look at?
360 Jeezy is one of my favourites.
I'm annoyed that I'm like, I get it. I'm annoyed that I got into the stage that I get it. Like he can send me a video and
then you'll say that you love it. Yeah, you're like, that's some skills.
That's a nice fade right
see
there.
That fade?
That's a nice
you see that clippers? See that clippers, yeah?
Shake it now, shake it.
Brilliant. And that's how you know you guys are going to kill it, because you love your craft. You're in it, you've immersed it to the point where you know the difference in a good barber and a bad barber. And I think you touched on something quite interesting, Aaron, and I think maybe, Lina, you might also know this, but when it comes down to the quality of barbershops, what is up with that? I mean, like, how do we raise the bar?
And this is difficult because I've been having this debate on Facebook a few times because someone on my Facebook was complaining that their barber was charging, I think it was £15.
Right.
And I was explaining that when I was a kid, a haircut cost a tenner. I'm a full-grown man, and haircut still cost a tenner. Have we not thought about inflation and how that's affecting?
Rent has gone up.
Living
standards have gone
gone
up. Cost of tools have gone up. Cost of staff have gone up. But
the haircut is still a tenner.
That's true,
the barbers are struggling to make ends meet.
Yeah.
So if you're struggling to make ends meet, you can't complain that the shop becomes derelict or becomes run down. Do you know what I mean? Because we're not making enough. If you go to a European salon like Tony and Guy, you're paying £35 for a snip.
Yeah.
They can, if you're making those kind of margins, you can afford to keep the shop looking a certain way.
Yeah.
That being said, the barbers themselves also have to raise the bar. They also have to be prepared to provide quality service so that when someone's handing over £15, they're happy to hand over.
And
that
also, I think adding to that, consumers don't realize how much power we have. With every penny we spend, we're voting, essentially.
Interesting.
So, if you go to a barber shop and the service is shit, but you keep going back there, you're not telling the barber through your action that this needs to change. You only do that by saying, do you know what, I'm not going to stand for this, I'm out. I'm going to find another barber that raises up to my standards, and I'm going to vote by paying to their service. Now you're telling your ex-barber that I need to change the way I behave, otherwise I'm going to lose customers.
Yeah. Right.
Barbers will not change the way they behave if their customers keep coming back. Why would you?
That's true, but I ain't gonna lie. Like I was saying, we're loyal to our barbers. I mean, my barber, to a fault. I mean, he can do me a nice, shape up once in a while.
What's going to happen is that as cost of living goes up, continues to rise, as rents continue to rise, your favorite barber is going to eventually close down. Unless he's making enough money, your favorite barber is going to close
100%.
down because he's not going to be able to keep the lights on.
So when he decides, like halfway through the trim, to go get a munch, I need to tell him. I need to say that's not cool.
Yes.
And
when he decides that he's not going to open shop at 10 a.m. when they claim they're meant to be open at 10 a.m.
100%.
They need.
Because
so it's a two-way street. The barbers need to up the levels. Seriously, need to up the levels, and the customers need to be prepared to pay a little bit more for the service.
It's also penalty. Like, that's just how. If you look at any other walks of life, you misbehave, you get held accountable for that, and that's how you change your behavior, right?
Yeah.
So you tell the barber once, I don't accept you walking out of my haircut halfway through. I'm a customer, I'm a paying customer. He does it again, you don't go back there. You don't keep going back there.
No. I mean, when you say it like that, it sounds.
Why the hell would you keep? I don't even understand why you keep going back there.
No,
the trim. That's
convenience. The trim, the convenience. It's literally my locals.
It's also because so many barbers are the same. So it's like you leave that barber, the other barber shop does exactly the same thing. However, his shape up's not even as clean. So it's like it's a difficult situation for the barbers and for the customers. But unless things change pretty soon.
Which is, I think, why you guys are going to be smashing it. And honestly, I'm just looking forward to your rise because it's just going to be exponential. It's just going to be huge.
That's the hope.
100%. Okay, guys, I want to give you the free reign. I know you again, this is a conversation, you know how it goes, just rolls. But I've heard from your side, and if I'm going to do a summary and tell me if I'm wrong, you were saying when it comes down to starting up your own company, not necessarily Shear and Shine, networking is imperative. You've got to know you have the right people. But then you're also talking about the mind frame and self-discipline and being able to problem solve.
Yeah, self-development is key.
Can you, and this is going to be, I guess, my final question on this, and I'm going to give you guys almost your Jerry Springer moment, but final thoughts. But can you be delusioned? Can you feel like what you have as a product or service, can you go too far down that rabbit hole, if you know what I mean? And all of a sudden you're financially broke, everything is not working out for you. When should you stop that?
I think it's very important to understand whether what you're doing, whether there's actually a market for what you're doing, or is this just a passion that you have.
How do you differentiate that?
Research. Research is the only way you can find out, unless it's a product that has never existed in the market. But then, even then, there is research that you can do to establish whether there will be a need for this product or not. It's all about research. The more you read, the more you understand, the more you can come to the conclusion that there is a need for this thing to exist. And if you come to the conclusion that there is a need for this thing to exist, that's when you need to start developing passion for it. I think before that, the passion could blind you from the harsh truth that the market doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Sorry, it doesn't.
So, for example, it's like, how big is the hair care market as a whole? Okay, how big is the Afro hair care section inside that market? Okay, how big is the men inside that smaller section? Okay, how many black men live in the UK? How many black men live in America? How many black men live there? Okay, you have access to the black men in the UK, so that's where you're going to start. So this is how you do your marketing.
But it's not just about how many people are in the world. It's also about whether these people even have a habit of buying the product that you're about to put out on the market.
But it's all about narrowing it down,
Yeah.
like laser focus, like narrowing it down, zooming down. Okay, so there's this many black people in the UK. Okay, my product is for black people between 25 to 50. Okay, cool. How many of those people are likely to be interested in my product? Do you know what I mean? This is how you do your market research, and then you understand, is there actually a market for my product for me to sustain a business? If I was to reach all of those people, because you're not going to reach all of them, you're only going to reach like 2% of them if you're lucky, is that 2% going to be enough to make a sustainable business?
Right.
And now you understand whether your business is viable or not.
Okay, gotcha. And then promotion-wise, any tools, any advice?
I think, marketing goes beyond just promotion.
Yeah, of course.
But I think just look at how the most important thing when it comes to market is to see things from the consumer perspective, in my opinion. So how are they triggered? And then you need to figure out what resources do you have to push those buttons. Some of it you will have immediate access to, some of it you won't. You just need to figure out how your consumers think and how they're triggered and how they learn about new brands and stuff like that. And then you need to find the best way to reach them.
It's funny because just to go on having the end user in mind, or like your consumers, right? I heard someone a lot smarter than I say, make sure you talk to the polar extremes of each, because then the means sort out itself. So if you can actually please your harshest critic, then you're smiling.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought that was quite fun.
Yeah, makes
okay,
sense.
guys, I mean, is there anything if you look at it from a context of the listeners, anything that we haven't spoken about that you feel is quite important to know from how to get started, like a business like yours?
I would just say that it's important to, like I said, going back to the mindset, it's important to understand that just because you don't know something now doesn't mean that you can't become it. Like, every expert was once a beginner at something. So, and someone said a really good quote to me, which was, starting a business is like walking into a dark room and trying to find a light switch. So at first you're fumbling around, you don't know what you're doing, you can't see anything, but eventually you find the light switch and things start to make sense. Things start to come together. So it's just start, you know what I mean? Just start the process of learning what it is that you're trying to do and understanding things.
No, there's nothing to add from that.
Okay, brilliant. Well, I normally finish with light fire questions, but let me ask this separately and you're going to have your response. So quick fire, the answers don't have to be really quick, but would you rather your child be smart, right, or good looking?
Smart.
Smart.
Yeah.
So that's too quick. Okay. You've got, in this current environment and climate, you've got your last £5. What would you spend it on? Lina, go.
In this climate, my last £5 would be spent on a domain name, a blog, affiliate marketing. Money.
That's a good one.
Okay.
That's a good one. Oh, jeez. My last £5.
A haircut. A 50% off.
I think it's a shape up and then meet a client.
Yeah. Brilliant. And last but not least, guys, how would you like to be remembered? And I want you guys individually to answer that.
I'd like to be remembered as someone who made a difference, who opened doors for the next generation. Yeah.
For me, I'm very specific. I already said it to you in the email. I want to make a difference in Tanzania, particularly, because, you know, the saying, charity starts at home. And as much as I'd like to make a difference to Africa as a continent, there's somewhere where I need to start. So I think I'd really like to make a difference to Tanzanians, particularly the youth there.
And how can we love you, share your work, you know, find you on the internet, wherever? Just
at
give
Shear
us.
and Shine on everything. At Shear and Shine on Twitter, Instagram.
And it's and as in A-N-D as opposed to the ampersand. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, well, Shear and Shine is Shear ampersand Shine, but for social network purposes, it's A&D.
Okay, got you. Everywhere, like you're on Twitter, you're on Facebook, you're on Instagram, LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, Lina Gadi.
Yeah, Google Plus, Snapchat.
Not Google Plus.
I mean, his LinkedIn is not Lina Gadi, by the way.
No, I mean, it's you individually. Aaron Wallace. Yeah, and what can we do apart from obviously follow, share? Is there anything specifically you'd like from us? Is there anything you need?
You can purchase products from us.
Subscribe to our newsletter as well. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, you know, purchase products for, and if you're a female listening, for the men in your life, for your dad, your brothers, your lovers, whatever.
Yeah.
And also, if we're not stocked in your local hair shops or your local barber shops, then request us. Tell them to reach out and get us in there.
Yeah.
Or send us their contact details and we'll reach out to them. Either way.
Yeah. But it's even more powerful when you tell them that you want us to stop.
Hey guys, we really appreciate you listening, and if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comment section below. Also, all the info about the guests, the links and the resources we speak about will be in the description below. And last but not least, please do get in touch if you can teach us how you do what it is you do. Because after all, Blacticulate is all about empowering and upskilling the community. Thanks guys, you're the best. See you soon.